Hello everyone, and now, in this video, this is where the hype begins. Because honestly, the CG enhancements is something that I think a ton of players have been waiting for an incredibly long time. I mean, really, when it comes right down to it, we've been waiting forever. There have been so many characters that have just gone passed by for the CG characters where we've just been constantly being like, what are their enhancements? What are their enhancements? Well, here it is. One giant fucking batch. And let me tell you, I hope you've been saving the stones to do this one. Sounded cooler in my head. Anyway, let's get on with it, because I also want to talk about where I think this will place these units afterwards. First of all, Awaken Drain. Awaken Drain is already just the strongest magic tank on the Japanese side, and any enhancements are going to just make him better. First of all, Energy Wall, his 38 MP ability now gives a Self-Spirit plus 100% to himself, and immune to Spirit Break. There is no reason why this isn't great. This is basically his big defense ability for magic that you're constantly using. Now gives a spirit bonus no matter what, and makes him immune to Spirit Break, meaning it's more difficult to kill him. Fantastic. Moving on. 50%, he will get a total now of 50% Esper stats, which just makes him more survivable, stronger, and better all around. Complete Focus will now give a extra 50% spirit total. For those who don't know, it's a self-turn or self-2-turn plus 200% to spirit, so now it goes up to 250, and it unlocks Unleash Focus. He will also get some damage modifiers for Unleash Focus of a total of 300%, but it does not unlock for more turns. And his AoE heal 5000 HP and 50 MP will get a reduction cost twice of 5 Limit Burst Crystals. Awaken Drain was just basically the best magic tank, and he becomes even better. I don't know why I need to have a longer conversation, so I'm just moving on. Cgt Laswell. Cgt Laswell was one of the ones that we were promised the biggest changes, and I'm not entirely sure without seeing the data. Because honestly, the idea of the increased chain cap is just confusing at this point until we get finer details about how powerful it is. So, his first enhancement, for losing his basic 10% extra MP to a 30% MP, losing that gives a new ability called Increased Chain Damage Cap, which Reagan is also getting. We don't know exactly what this is yet, how much powerful it'll be, but it's been promised that the dual wield units are coming back starting here, so it should be interesting to see. Now, Laswell's AT chaining ability will get a total of a 255% modifier. That one also ignores 50% defense, so this is just getting generally stronger. Next up, Heir to the Blade, I should say, which is his bonus for equipping a katana. 30% extra MP, 10% extra Esper stats, 20% equip attack when dual wielding. And Blade of Flash, this is one of his cool abilities that I really like. 45 MP, one hit attack, ignores 25% defense and debuffs ice resistance. Well, now, not only is it going to break for a total of 50% defense for 3 turns, it's also going to debuff 105% ice resistance total. Long story short, I think Laswell just became the strongest ice debuffer in the game. And given that his chaining is potentially getting better too, this could be really powerful. Imagine CG Laswell chaining with Axstar now. Don't do that. Don't do that. I want to make the video about it. If this new ability, if this new thing is as big of a deal as Alum has led us to believe, CG Laswell could actually considerably jump up in the damage meta. As a matter of fact, he might be a really good chain partner for Axstar in the future, especially with that ice debuff of 105%. We'll have to wait and see on this one, but needless to say, it's kind of exciting. And next up is CG Fina. It's definitely some people's favorite, and still one of my favorite healers. Her AoE heal that is split over multiple turns and also giving Limit Burst crystals will now give a extra 4 Limit Burst crystals. Limit Burst crystal fill from the +1 will just be improved to 5. So basically, CG Fina can generate a lot of Limit Bursts a lot faster. Her elemental buff for the entire party, which was at 45% before, now goes up to an even 50%, lasts 2 turns longer, and also gives a magic and spirit buff of 80%. So now it's basically a full buff of 80% and 50% to all elements. Great, fantastic. This is one of the abilities I really wanted enhanced. 50%, I can understand why they left it so low. If it was stronger, Fina might just have become just the best healer in general because of her support abilities. Her light damaging attack gets 250% modifiers, and her Limit Burst, one of her other abilities, just gets an extra 50% spirit. Oh yeah, and a small thing called charm immunity. That's right, CG Fina is now 100% charm immune. Honestly, this makes Fina just considerably better than she was before. She was still pretty useful. Now she just becomes insanely better for the Limit Burst crystal fills, for the extra stats she can give, because not having Spirit on that was a bit of a problem, and just extra element resistance. Yeah, CG Fina's really good, and Charm Immunity. Can't forget Charm Immunity. Next up is CG Sakura, and CG Sakura immediately starts out with just something amazing. Divine Thunder, her 99 MP ability that is on a 4-turn cooldown, removes magic debuffs, and gives herself some thunder resistance, as well as learning her Pentacast. Basically, you know, that ability that is just essentially her best thing. Well, now, for maxing it out twice, AoE, Thunder Imperil, for a total of 60%. CG Sakura became a mini Ellie. Her quick Rebel Intention gets some extra modifiers and ignores more spirit now, a total of 50 spirit, so the modifiers go a lot more than you think they will go. Basically, that second level is pretty dynamite for that. Her quick Final Thunder will get some extra modifiers, some consecutive modifiers of plus 200% total. Her AoE damage barrier gets a total of an extra 10% damage reduction and lasts 1 extra turn, so 4 turns. Beautiful. And her Rod Mastery gets an extra 50%. If you consider that this girl could be a true dual hand mage, CG Sakura might be just incredibly stronger now. CG Sakura just became a mini version of Ellie for the Thunder element, and if the Thunder element is good, you should be using CG Sakura again. Gotta say, this girl sticks around in the mage meta. Every time I think she's gone, she comes right back. Thought I skipped it. It's just slightly out of order. Next up, CG Jake. Okay, this character is not one of everyone's favorites, but they at least tried to give him some interesting limit bursts. Basically, for all of his assaults, flame, ice, electro, or light assault, the imperils all go up by 25% to a total of 50%, or sorry, not 50%, 75%, allows use of another ability for 1 turn, and total gives him an extra 20 limit burst crystals. So it really focuses in on one of, essentially the best part of him, his limit burst. If you can stop him from getting debuffed, his limit burst is perfectly fine and really strong. So yeah, these are solid enhancements to be sure. Now coming to just one of the best group of enhancements in this batch, CG Lid is still one of the top buffers, but has fallen out a little bit in regards to Orin as well as Edgar, since both of them can do damage. Well, good news. Lid's coming back, proving that hey, you just really need a debuffer who's just unfair to the enemy. First of all, for losing her 20% attack ability twice, or 2 updates, gives her a 30% HP and guts, meaning that she can survive a fatal hit. No exact details yet. Her MP regeneration ability that uses a random ability now heals for an extra 30 MP, and MP healed also affects herself too. So for 12 MP, she's regenning MP. Awesome. Airbag gives herself a extra 10% defense and spirit, 10% damage mitigation permanently. So the lid is basically the more survivable buffer by far. Not only that, her limit burst fill rate up, which was already at 100%, goes up to 150%, and she gets a crystal per turn. Beautiful. But honestly, the overboard part of all of her enhancements is the fact that all of her absorb abilities, basically the 5-turn debuffs at 60% and buffs herself, now get an extra 10% increase each for enhancing them twice. 70% debuffs on command. Yeah, Lid's gonna be just fine. You guys don't gotta worry about Lid. Now, the last one that we got to talk about, and a fan favorite for sure, is CG Nickel. First of all, Cool Composure just gives him stop immunity. He's already charm immune, now he's stop immune. Third round of enhancements to make him berserk, please. The trifecta. Anyway, his MP heal for the entire party will go up to 60 MP, and his formations change a little bit. First of all, they give an extra turn of duration, and self-breaks become 35%, so honestly, just generally better. His formations were a big part of him, but they did do a little bit of a debuff. Now the debuff is smaller, so they're just generally better. And flowing ice formation goes up to 100% ice and water resistance. CG Nickel definitely does take a step up against buffers. And I would say that honestly, stop and charm immunity is a big deal here, and probably will push him higher up in my ranking. However, Primrose is still very strong, Uraisha is still really strong, and we haven't even gotten to one of the other units on this list yet. So, CG Nickel's enhancements are definitely really good, but I'm not convinced that they are the best. CG Reagan, besides what we already know he gets an extra 10% when dual wielding. Change limit burst effect, we'll have to wait and see what that is. His AT chaining gets a 255% modifier on it. He gets an extra 40% imperil to fire and ice, meaning he now debuffs with his holy explosion chaining 100% to fire and ice. Again, this guy's probably going to be a really good pair for Axstar. And a 220% modifier to that attack anyway, with an extra 2-turn duration on the debuffs. Whew! 50% extra attack too as his final ability. CG Reagan looks like he's going to be just fine. Doing his short story as well as his enhancements should make him a pretty strong, but really it's a question about that new, chain damage up ability. If it makes a big enough difference, Reagan will become potentially meta. Can't believe I'm saying that. Cgt Citra. Now, Cgt Citra might just have one of the best batch of enhancements out of everybody. First of all, her 2000% one-hit summon attack. Its Esper cost gets decreased by a total of 3 Esper crystals from 5, and gets a 1000% modifier that's just generally stronger. Before this, I thought Citra won't possibly be better than the beach version. Now I'm not entirely sure, because her W cast ability for enhancing it twice gains a ability to triple cast another ability of hers that she couldn't before, and it becomes triple cast. Consistent access to triple cast is very strong, you guys. So yes, that alone probably pushes CG Citra considerably higher than where I had placed her before, because her chaining ability, the 350% 14-hit light AoE magic attack using Spirit that also fills Esper Gauge 2 to 4 Esper Crystal and heals, now gets a total of a 550% modifier to it, and it fills the Esper Gauge more, and it can be triple casted. Jesus. Next up, her Cooldown summon attack gets a big bonus of about 1500 extra percent to a total of 4000% one AoE one-hit magic attack. This ability should hit much more like a truck now than it did before. But interestingly, we haven't got there quite yet. Her magic damage reduction gets an extra 10%, and it fills more Esper gauge now. And last but not least, she gets a very interesting ability that increases her summon damage of Bahamut by 150%. Ooh, where's that Bahamut 2-star now? Cgt Citra, I think, actually has a real chance of being a contender against her beach version. As a matter of fact, both of them will probably be incredibly strong when all is said and done. But I gotta say, I'm really happy they gave Citra a lot of extra attention, because this is just cool that a summoner is getting so much attention. Seghart is basically getting an extra on his AoE charm and defend allies, 100% defense buff and defense debuff resist. Great, makes him more survivable. An extra 20% to defense and spirit, 10% to HP, 200% modifier on his breaking ability, and an extra 5% to his full break, so now it's a 55%, and it has a chance to charm the enemy 15%. Okay, honestly not the big deal here. His last ability is kind of cool. His switching ability, the one that provokes one turn and then AoE defends second turn, enhancing it unlocks a move, add self-defense and spirit plus 100%, and unlocks a move, add self-defense and spirit debuff resist. Seghart was already one of the best physical tanks on the JP side. Now he becomes even better, just like Awaken Drain. There isn't much to talk about here. It's just gravy. Next up is Fulco, one of the ones who did not get exactly what I wanted. First of all, her add extra damage modifier for water spells. It now uses less limit burst gauge to use, and it gets an extra 150% modifier, so it's a 300% modifier. Hey, flood users, you might just become good, or any water magic damage users, like Ellie, for example, might benefit from this considerably, but short of testing, I'm not totally convinced. Extra 50% spirit, 10% increases to her counter, so now she has a 40% chance to counter and cure all status ailments. And last but not least, definitely not least, her 2 cover all status ailments in the game except for berserk abilities now get their cost reduced by 6 MP and HP and MP regen and an HP barrier of 2000. I don't think this is going to push Fulco back into necessarily the healer meta. She didn't get stop or charm immunity, which she kind of needed, but all of her boosts are just pretty damn nice in general, so thumbs up still. And honestly, I'm going to give CG Ignacio right now my most improved, and I was already a big fan of him anyway. First of all, his critical hit now goes down a total of 12 MP cost and unlocks triple cast for 1 turn, meaning that this guy can keep triple casting forever. Congratulations, you fixed Ignacio's biggest fault. But it gets even better because, first of all, his fire debuff that was 75% before will now go up to 100% and last 2 turns longer. Great, considering a super TMR, and then he puts Fire Element on the team. Speaking of putting Fire Element on the team, both of his AoE buffs that use Limit Burst from himself go from 120% AoE 5-turn to 180%. I'm not even joking. Ignacio actually became one of the best buffers in the game. One of the strongest buffers in the game. Also, he has that 50% chance to still add fire attacks to allies and can give fire resistance of 100%. Bravo. Bravo. And he just gets an extra 50% attack. This is a world of difference for Ignacio. For everyone who didn't think he was that great before, now he is much more consistent at doing a boatload of damage, and he can actually slot in as just your buffer. Honestly, Ignacio, unbelievable enhancements. Just unfrickin' believable. And last but not least, see, this video's taken 20 minutes just going over the enhancements. Cgt Citra gets a total of an extra 50% jump damage. That's a big boost to all of his attacks right there, since pretty much all of his attacks are jump damage anyway. Extra 50% jump damage is just bananas and nuts with extra nuts. From there, he gets an extra 75% beast killer. Okay, not going to complain about that. 20% MP. Limit burst damage goes up by a total of 6. That seems to be a misprint on the Reddit. Possibly. As here it's listed as 80% and on Reddit it's listed as 60%. Pretty sure that I'm going to go with the 80%. So basically a 2 times limit burst damage increase. Unless this is a misprint, in which case, whoops, somebody messed up. And last but not least, his 15-turn jump. Now, if you use the cooldown, it becomes a 1-turn jump, but that is the one that I demoed before that is incredibly powerful. Now, it becomes a 30-turn jump with enhancements. Great, you say. Well, the big deal is that you get an extra 650% and an extra 1500% modifier for unlocking it twice. Now, that's big. That basically puts this jump now at a total of 4000%. If you consider the extra jump damage, if you consider all the extra jump modifiers you can put onto this, if you consider that you put an element on this guy too, I'm pretty sure that this will be one of the most powerful moves in the game. Also unlocks a modifier or a move modifier of 2150%. Gotta say, it is unbelievable what they have given this guy. Cgt Citra was already the most powerful Dragoon in the game. Now he just blows every other Dragoon completely out of the water. So out of all of this enhancement batch, I gotta say that it doesn't really feel like there are any losers. Everybody kind of focuses on where they need to, does a giant improvement for all of that stuff. Whoops, didn't mean to switch over there. But I have to say that I am really just absolutely tickled pink. I'm a little worried about how much this is going to cost in general for all of this. But all of the units who got enhancements this time, man, are they actually sounding really good. There are a few question marks in general about the new things that we haven't seen before. But honestly, for anybody out there who has any of these CG units, don't feel bad about enhancing them. Just feel bad that you probably don't have enough to enhance all of them. So absolutely fantastic. And yeah, that is all for now. I will see you all next time, and look forward to some enhancement videos of these units in the future. I mean over the next 8 months. I don't have that many crystals. See you next time.